Most gamers know about the trouble the Mortal Kombat series has stirred up with censorship boards over the years. But the list of controversial video games doesn't stop there. Here are 10 other games that have been banned because they were too shocking for censors or for other shocking reasons you might not expect. Medal of Honor. A part of the long-running Medal of Honor military FPS franchise, 2010's Medal of Honor game promised a modern and up-to-date look at military combat. However, when the game included the ability to play as a Taliban soldier, it ended up on the wrong side of the actual United States military. On paper, the concept sounds good. The game needs good guys and bad guys for multiplayer missions, and of course Western soldiers would fight against the Taliban. In practice, though, it turned out to be a huge tactical blunder. After widespread criticism from American and British armed forces, EA quickly renamed the Taliban faction to the more generic Opposing Force. But it was too late. The US military permanently banned sales of the game at military bases worldwide. Grand Theft Auto. In most of the world, the controversy stirred up by Rockstar Games' Grand Theft Auto series hasn't been enough for governments to start swinging the national ban hammer. Not so in Thailand, where the entire GTA series has been banned since 2008. In fairness, there's more to Thailand's blanket ban than the usual concerns over GTA's over-the-top violence, language, and sexual content. In 2008, a young Thai man killed a taxi driver in cold blood and claimed that Grand Theft Auto 4 had inspired him. He said he wanted to see if it was really that easy to kill and rob someone in real life. Clearly, he was looking for a scapegoat, and while his flimsy excuse didn't save him from punishment, the public uproar that followed did eventually prompt Thailand to ban sales of all GTA games, closing off the Thai market to the series. Fallout 3. War never changes, but Fallout 3 has changed a few times in order to pass muster with foreign censorship and ratings boards. Both Japan and Australia have previously banned the game. Japan's main concern was the inclusion of an undetonated nuclear weapon named Fat Man, which happens to be the nickname of the bomb the United States dropped on Nagasaki during World War II. Fat Man killed as many as 80,000 people, so it's understandable that Japan would be touchy about it popping up in a video game. The creators had to rename the weapon and remove the in-game option to detonate it before Japan gave Fallout 3 a pass. In Australia, the game was briefly refused classification, which is basically a polite way of banning it, due to the inclusion of morphine as a usable drug. The creators renamed the morphine Med-X, and even though it was otherwise the same item, Australia then agreed to classify the game. Mass Effect. BioWare's Mass Effect series marries RPG and FPS elements with complex, branching storylines to create a unique video game experience. The Mass Effect games haven't generally caused too much controversy. Their tale of intergalactic sci-fi military action and political intrigue appeals to a lot of people, and most of the game's mature content is presented thoughtfully and carefully. So why did Singapore end up banning the original Mass Effect? Players choose to control a male or female protagonist named Shepard. When playing female Commander Shepard in the original Mass Effect, there's a chance to end up in a romantic relationship with a female-looking alien, leading to an intimate scene between the two women. Singapore didn't have the most forward-thinking policy about lesbian relationships at the time, so the game was banned for this scene. The ban was eventually lifted, albeit with an 18+ rating. Battlefield 4. Like most first-person shooters, the team-based, vehicle-heavy Battlefield games have always been violent. However, that's not what caused China to ban sales of Battlefield 4 in 2013. The problem arose when the game's developers released a DLC pack called China Rising. Chinese censors reviewed the DLC and found that it had multiple strategic maps of parts of China, and that its fictional storyline of a rogue Chinese military commander leading an insurrection against the ruling government constituted a form of cultural invasion that needed to be stopped. China's concern was so great that not only did they ban sales of the entire game, they made it illegal to own it, recommending that Chinese gamers uninstall and dispose of it at once. The Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt. The popular Witcher series of role-playing games based on the book series of the same name places players in the shoes of Geralt of Rivia, a witcher who uses magic and physical skills to wander the countryside killing monsters. The games are known for their nuanced explorations of complex human interactions. They're also known for their frank depictions of sexually active characters. The Witcher 3 continues Geralt's story with this same matter-of-fact presentation. Depictions of sex and nudity in the series have long raised eyebrows with censors, but Australia's National Ratings Board drew the line at a particular quest involving a succubus offering sex in exchange for Geralt's aid. Australia felt that using sex as a bargaining chip was in poor taste and potentially harmful to Australian society. Electronic Arts agreed to remove the option for Geralt to accept sex as a payment, though oddly the offer is still in the game, it's just that players can't choose it as an option, and the game was approved for release. Zombie games. Germany famously disallows graphic depictions of violence against humans and humanoid enemies, among various other restrictions. A handful of games over the years have swapped in robots for the original human enemies so that they could be sold in Germany. However, there is one kind of game where robots won't really cut it: the zombie horror genre. A number of games have run up against the zombie problem. Even dead, a human body is still a human body. The zombie-related games that have never been approved for sale in Germany include such famous titles as Dead Rising, Left 4 Dead 2, and House of the Dead Overkill. The overall German video game approval and classification system is so complex it's hard to know for certain whether or not a game will make the cut. But violent zombie games do seem to be among the most likely to be banned, leaving German gamers out in the cold when it comes to practicing their zombie apocalypse survival skills. Postal series. First released as a computer game in 1997, the original Postal has players taking control of a violently schizophrenic man who murders his way through various levels and onto an Air Force base in an extended fit of paranoid rage. The game caused immediate controversy. Two sequel games followed, 2003's first-person shooter Postal 2 and the critically panned glitch-fest Postal 3 in 2011. Although some players point to Postal's value as a safe way to release stress, many governments and rating boards disagree. Postal and Postal 2 have been banned from sale in several countries around the world since their release. Postal 3 would likely be banned in more places if it were playable, but by most accounts it really isn't. The developers eventually retconned it as a fever dream spin-off of Postal 2 and let it die a surprisingly gentle death for a Postal game. The Guy Game. With strong free speech protections, it's almost impossible to find a game that's truly banned outright in the United States. However, there is one game with this dubious distinction, though it's not banned for the reasons you might expect. The Guy Game is a mundane trivia game hidden underneath layers and layers of scantily clad women. With a little work and a little bit of luck, players could easily unlock topless video footage of most of these women who were largely filmed at a spring break gathering on a tropical island. The problem arose when one of the women captured on camera turned out to have been just 17 at the time the crew filmed her, and unaware that the footage would be used commercially. The Guy Game was immediately banned after that, not because of anything about the game's design, but because it's considered child pornography. To this day, buying or selling it is technically a federal felony. Manhunt II. Manhunt II is arguably the most controversial video game of all time. The original uncut version of Manhunt II is so reviled by censorship boards that even in places where it's technically available, such as the United States, it's been slapped with ultra-restrictive ratings that prevent it from being sold by most retail outlets. Manhunt II picks up right where the first game left off, following a mentally disturbed protagonist who gets rewarded for coming up with brutal and gruesome ways to kill his enemies. Despite solid gameplay mechanics, initial reviews characterize the game as relentlessly bleak, with no redeeming qualities whatsoever. Developers Rockstar Games weren't too happy when the game received an AO, or Adults Only rating. Neither Microsoft, Sony, nor Nintendo allow AO games to be published for use on their console systems. Rockstar eventually toned down and blurred out a lot of the game in order to secure a lower M rating in the US. But the original, unedited version of the game remains the stuff of legend. It's still banned in the UK, Australia, and Germany, and severely restricted in many other places around the globe. Well, there you have it, our list of games that proved to be more than some countries could handle. What do you think? Are these restrictions too harsh, or did they not go far enough? Which game surprised you the most? As always, be sure to like this video and comment with your thoughts. And don't forget to check out all of CBR's other amazing videos.